Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. Thanks for joining me this morning for my employment webinar. My name's Hayley Travato. I'm a solicitor at OGR Stock Denters Employment Department. As you can see, I'm at home today working, as I expect lots of you are at the moment. I've managed to find 5 or 10 minutes just to have a quiet moment. So I thought this would be a good chance while the children are locked away in the cupboard for me to give you this webinar. I hope that you find it informative. It may answer some questions that you have. If it doesn't, please feel free to contact us and ask us those questions. We're always happy to help. So just before I start, I just want to remind you or let you know that this is for information purposes only. It's not to be construed as legal advice. If you have a situation that you need advice on, then please do contact us. Every case is different, and so you should take your own individual legal advice. Right, let's get going. So I'm going to discuss the coronavirus job retention scheme today. As everyone's heard about, the government's taking unprecedented steps to help businesses with their finances during the coronavirus pandemic. And one of the most significant measures has been the coronavirus job retention scheme to support employees who are furloughed by paying them a proportion of their wages. So this not only helps the employees who may otherwise have been made redundant, but it also helps the employers because it frees up money for businesses and helps them with their cash flow. The employees who have been furloughed take a leave of absence, but they remain on the payroll, a bit like pressing a pause on the employment relationship, but they remain employed throughout. It means that whereas they may have otherwise been laid off or been made redundant due to a lack of work, that they are actually paid a proportion of their wages and stay in employment. There's been quite a lot of confusion and uncertainty about the new scheme, so I thought to try and help you get to grips with this, I would chat through some of the questions that we'd had about the scheme. So first of all, what does the scheme offer? So it's a temporary scheme open to all UK employers. It has just been extended, and so it will now last until at least the 30th of June 2020. It may very well be extended further by the Chancellor, we don't know. And as I've said, it supports employers whose operations have been affected by coronavirus. Employers can use a portal, which was just opened on Monday, this Monday, the 20th of April, and they can claim up to 80% of furloughed employees' usual monthly wage costs, up to £2,500 a month, plus associated employers' national insurance costs and auto-enrolment employer contributions as well. So is your business going to be eligible? Well, any UK organisation with employees can apply for the scheme. Businesses, charities, recruitment agents, agency workers who are paid for through PAYE and public authorities. However, you must have created and started a PAYE payroll scheme on or before the 19th of March and have a UK bank account to access the scheme. In terms of what employees can benefit from the scheme, to be eligible, an employee must have been on the PAYE roll on or before the 19th of March. This was recently extended as well from the 28th of February to the 19th of March, meaning that people who have started after the 28th of February can now benefit from that. But there's a bit of a caveat. HMRC must have been notified of a payment through real-time information by that date. It covers full-time, part-time employees, employees who are on agency contracts, flexible or zero-hour contracts, and also if they're on PAYE, company directors, and salaried members of LLPs. It's really important to be eligible for furlough, that if put on furlough, an employee must not undertake any work on behalf of the organisation. This includes providing services or generating any revenue. You can do training or voluntary work as long as it doesn't generate any income for the business. So if you haven't already done so, how are you going to decide who to furlough, which employees to furlough? Well, you could ask for volunteers from the outset, but you may end up with more people than you need. If you've got a group of people who all do the same job and you only need half of them, or you can only afford half of them, or your business the change in demand means that you don't need them all, then you're going to have to apply a fair and objective selection criteria to decide who stays and who is furloughed. I think probably the longer that you have to make that decision, so the less urgent the financial need is, then there will be a greater expectation upon a more comprehensive procedure being put in place to make that choice, compared to a situation where this is an urgent rush decision. Then there may be less of an expectation that there's a more comprehensive procedure in place. In terms of a procedure, a matrix could be drawn up, a matrix of objective criteria, such as is done for redundancy scoring. But one really important factor that you must bear in mind when you're taking a decision who to furlough, it must not be discriminatory at all. The guidance from the government and for the coronavirus job retention scheme make it clear that equality and discrimination laws apply in the usual way. So it's important that any decisions aren't discriminatory, unless of course they can be justified. So if an employee wants to make all over 70s, but put them all on furlough, then this may be justified because it's a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim, the legitimate aim being protecting the health and safety of vulnerable employees that have been identified in government guidance. So that's an important point. Just a little bit about what happens if an employee becomes sick whilst on furlough or are off sick on furlough. So if you have an employee who's currently off sick, they can be furloughed for business reasons, and they can be moved off statutory sick pay onto furlough pay. This is a discretion that the employer has as to whether to furlough these employees or leave them on SSP. If an employee becomes sick while on furlough, then again, it's up to the employer to decide whether to leave them on furlough or move them to SSP. The point here being that furlough cannot be claimed at the same time as statutory sick pay. Also, employees who are shielding in line with public health requirements or who are staying at home with someone else who is shielding can be furloughed. And in respect of maternity pay or shared parental leave, those who are getting statutory maternity pay, paternity pay, cannot additionally be furloughed, so you can't receive both of those payments. If they're under contractually obliged, if they're a contractual obligation to pay enhanced maternity, then they may be eligible for the scheme, but not those on statutory maternity or paternity. The other point I wanted to cover was about whether there has to be a risk of redundancy to put employees on furlough leave. Well, we've had a bit of guidance about this because the updated guidance has said that the scheme's been advised to help those whose operations have been severely affected by coronavirus. So it's clear that there has to be a detrimental impact from the COVID-19 pandemic. But the government does recognise that all businesses are going to face challenges. So it's not necessarily the case that it has to be a situation where somebody would have been made redundant, but there has to have been a detrimental impact from coronavirus. And another interesting and relevant point is HMRC have made it clear that the grants that they give under the coronavirus job retention scheme cannot be used to substitute redundancy payments. And this is something that HMRC are going to be closely monitoring. Annual leave, I just want to have a look at that now. This is something that the guidance has been silent on, and the interaction between furlough leave and annual leave has been the subject of much debate. However, the guidance updated on the 17th of April for the first time dealt with this issue, and it did clarify that employees are entitled to take annual leave while on furlough leave, that annual leave continues to accrue while on furlough leave, and that holiday pay should be made at the usual holiday pay rate in accordance with the working time regulations, and that employers are obliged to pay the additional amount over the grant received from HMRC. So where furlough pays 80% of normal wages, the employer will be required to make up the 100% of normal pay for any period of annual leave. There are still questions about annual leave which we're not sure about whether employers can compel employees to take annual leave, but we're hoping that more guidance will be released in due course. So as you can see, just from the couple of areas I've talked about today, this can be a complex area and can require careful consideration. So if you have any questions about this or any issues, then please feel free to contact us to see if we can help you or your business. Not just about this, if you have any other employment areas, or if you have any other questions, we have our property, litigation, private client, family team, and we're all set up to work remotely, so we are all able to help you should you need any advice. do not hesitate to get in touch with a member of our team. Well, thanks for taking the time to listen to me today. I hope you found it useful. Do keep following us on LinkedIn or Twitter, because then you can get all of our latest updates and news about upcoming webinars. And as I said, please be in touch if we can help you. Thanks a lot. Bye.